Reiwa Gaming Mat Cheno e Yokozo. Today's topic: next gen game prices. Are they really too much? A perspective from Japan.
Hello, everyone. It's Matt here again, and it's time for a little quick video to go over today's news regarding video game prices as we look ahead to the next generation. Now, in the last day, we've had a very, very big announcement in regards to how much we could expect to see video games cost in the West when the next generation begins, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. We saw that 2K Games announced NBA 2K1, NBA 2K21, and they announced that the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X version, when it is available, will cost about $70. This, of course, is $10 more than the usual retail price for games new in America. And already there's been a lot of commentary from people asking, is this too much? Are they asking for too much, especially in the days of microtransactions? Or is this even too cheap compared to inflation and the price of games being developed and even the past price of games? I wanted to look into this really quickly because as I continue my series of videos, I'm eventually going to start doing some more videos on the world of video gaming in Japan. And I feel that this actually is a good place to start at that. And that is when I saw this news today that at least for NBA 2K21, that it's going to be $70 for next generation. When I saw a lot of people freaking out and going, "Oh my God, it's so expensive! I can't stand that. Games should not be more than $60. How can they do this?" I basically sat there and went, "Welcome to my world." And the reason I say that is that as a person who lives in Japan and is a gamer here, video game prices are very different here than they are in the rest of the world. And to be honest with you, I actually spend, when I buy new games, about that price, sometimes even more than $70 for a game. For instance, I was looking up on the PlayStation Store here in Japan, and they also posted up the pre-orders for the PlayStation 4 version of NBA 2K21. Now in America, apparently that game is $60. But when you look at the Japanese store, that game is 7,700 yen. And when you put that into a yen to dollar conversion, it's $71. I'm already paying the price for games like that. And that's not even the cheapest game or the cheapest situation. Madden NFL 2K1, or sorry, NFL 21. I'm thinking of the old NFL series. Madden NFL 21 is 8,700 yen, about $80 new. And that's another thing that's very common in Japan. There is no actual set price for the majority of games. In America these days, most games come out at $60. That seems to be the very common price for a game. In Japan, it could be 6,000 yen, it could be 7,000 yen, it could be 8,000 yen, it could be 9,000 yen, it could be 10,000 yen. It really depends on the game, the publisher, the demand for the game, and the price can go up and down. Now, of course, that suggested retail price is not always the one you end up paying for. Obviously, online, on the PlayStation Store, for instance, or the Nintendo Store, that retail price they put, that's the price you're going to pay. It's going to be very, very expensive. If you go to a big name electronics store, you're most likely going to pay that retail price as well. However, most people buy their games these days from places like Amazon or Gayo, which is a video rental store, and those stores offer nice discounts that go around 10 or 15% that help with the price of the games. And this is a really big thing here in Japan to deal with because, like I said, video games can cost a lot of money. I think, for instance, the Persona games, I can remember paying upwards of 9,000 yen for those games. Final Fantasy, similar. I can't remember how much I paid for Dragon Quest. I think that one was cheaper. But especially for console games in Japan, for PlayStation, you're going to be paying anywhere from about 6,000 to 10,000 yen, depending on the type of game, depending on the experience, depending on the popularity. It is not uncommon, and that is something I've had to deal with. Nintendo's a little better. Nintendo tends to keep their prices down to about 6,000 yen, but you do see some games have a higher price point to them. This might be a special edition, of course, might be a special version of the game with extra things in it. It might also just be a very big game. I believe it was the Dragon Quest 1 and 2, sorry, Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, which was released on the Switch many years ago, had a much higher price point. And that was, of course, because they had two games on one gigantic cart, which at the time was very rare to see. I think they weren't making many of the carts the size that needed for that one to be put in there. How do I feel about this? So, how do I feel about American games go up in price? Well, of course, I'm used to that price dealing with buying Japanese games, but I also do import games. And it's very frustrating to import games into Japan because you have to deal with shipping. And if you buy the games directly from America, when you counter shipping into it, it really ends up being about $70 anyway. Well, now that that price will be up, that means it's going to be higher shipping. If I buy the game here in Japan from an import store or from another import store online, I'm going to have to deal with those extra shipping costs plus the shipping cost that goes with that system of that store. So the price of games will go up as well. And that's something that really is very frustrating to think about, because absolutely games are cheaper these days than they were in the past due to inflation. I remember when I was a kid buying Final Fantasy III, aka now Final Fantasy VI, on the SNES. I think that game was like $90. Some places it was like $100. There were a lot of games like that on the SNES. They're very expensive games that went up above $100. I remember seeing. So if you take inflation for account, games are still cheaper than they've ever been before. But it's still hard to look at a video game and see that $70 price tag, especially for Western games, because we've been so used to this $60 price point. So I am a little concerned about it, because obviously some of these games that have a lot of microtransactions, you're already being asked to pay a lot of money up front to then have to pay for more within the game to get the whole game or get the game running the way you want to. I don't like that. And I think games like NBA 2K21, I don't think they really need that $70 because they can get the money back from other ways. And these are gigantic. These aren't like small games. These aren't like niche games. These are the big name games that are already going to get all the sales. And it's the same way in Japan too. The big name games that sell very well, especially on the PlayStation, tend to have higher price points. And yes, we do have cheap games. One of the cheap games coming out later this year, both in the East and the West, Star Wars Squadrons, that's like a $40 game. The same here, about 4,300 yen, which is about $40. So I think there's room for different price points, and that's what I'm hoping, that we'll see more price points for games, not one set price that's really high for these AAA or AA or whatever you want to say, like these main titles from big publishers, because we are in a situation where even when you look at inflation, you look at those things, $70 price point, you see that's kind of high. And yeah, of course, these games give you a lot of value for what you play, but it is still a lot of money. And I say that as someone who has to pay a lot for new games in Japan. It's also why I end up waiting to pay for them used, because simply put, you can't buy every game you want here. I think if this price situation ends up happening more in the West, where we start seeing more $70 games, I think you're going to see something similar happen in America. I think you will see a drop in game sales. This is a very surprising decision. Also, one thing that I really hated about this, and everyone also hates this, is that apparently this game will not have well, it will have it, but the way I explain it will make sense. A lot of games, of course, now you can hear that you'll buy in the next few months, you'll be able to upgrade to the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X versions for free. For instance, you buy Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4, you got the PS5 version for free. You buy Madden, as long as you buy it before the next Madden game comes out, you can get a free upgrade to that game. There's a lot of games on Xbox Series X that have this smart delivery that gets you the upgrade for free. Well, NBA 2K21, apparently the only way you get it, you have to pay like a not for the $9,900 special edition. That's just ridiculous and that's stupid, and you shouldn't punish your gamers for that. Shouldn't make them have to pay extra for something they've already paid for. And this is something that, of course, we're hearing a lot of the big companies say and agree to. It is ridiculous to keep paying over and over and over and over and over again for the same games. And I really do hope that they change that, because that just simply isn't a good deal. And that type of practices, I'm against it. Absolutely against it. But yeah, if you live in Japan, though, this is the norm. This is the norm. $70 games, $80 games, $90 games, over $100 games, they do exist. And I don't think you'll see that as much in the West. But $70 for a AAA game becoming the standard, if they're selling NBA 2K21 for that price, I think that the rest of the companies will follow suit. And so we're in interesting territory. Anyway, that's my opinion on the whole subject. I'm sure you have your own opinions about it. Anyway, if you like this video, of course, hit the like and dislike. That's okay too. You can leave a comment. Subscribe, please, too. I'd love for you to subscribe and watch some other great content. We just did our look back at the first half of the year and look forward to the next half of the year. I'm going to be doing more of these videos talking about Japanese video gaming as well. I did a little here with the pricing. I plan on going into talking about the rating system soon, because there's been some interesting games that have come out recently and will come out soon that have been affected by the rating system, and I really want to talk about that. But until next time, everyone take care. Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself. Until you see me again, happy gaming. See ya.
The Reiwa Gaming Matt channel. Always free, never $70, and no DLC or microtransactions.